What's up everybody, it's your favorite villain, and today I am bringing you the battle. We are finally going over who would win in a complete war if the Jedi Council from Star Wars, specifically the Clone Wars era, go up against the Akatsuki, the formidable mercenary group from Naruto. Now, I have already made 2 videos scaling each team and the individuals on it and what they could do. If you haven't seen those, stop the video, go watch them, then come back, because this is more so just the fight, not the scaling done in between. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into all the matchups, and I'm going to go over how each round progresses until eventually we have a winner. With that in mind, let's begin. First matchup, Hidan versus Agent Kolar. This battle, in my opinion, concludes before round 2 even begins. You actually have a pretty solid argument for this being the fastest ending battle. The reason Agent Kolar would win is because he is faster, and both combatants in particular are melee style fighters. In this matchup, with the speed and skill advantage going to Kolar, this battle favors him heavily. He might honestly 2-piece Hidan, behead him, and call it a day. This is very unfortunate for me because I'm a huge Hidan fan, but objectively speaking, he's not fast enough and he's not skilled enough to tag Kolar before Kolar beheads him. Agent Kolar will move on to round 2. Matchup number 2, we have Kakuzu versus Saisi 10. This fight will not conclude before round 2. Kakuzu has the versatility and large-scale attacks to keep 10 at bay. None of these attacks will actually be enough to put down 10, but it can keep him from closing in and doing some serious damage to Kakuzu. I do believe he'll pick off a heart or 2 as he progresses in this fight, and both are going to get touched up because of this, because he's willing to get close. 10 is going to get hit a couple times, but he's also going to take a couple hearts. Both combatants are roughed up, but they're still in the battle as round 2 approaches, so neither wins. Next matchup, Conan vs. Shock T. This fight in particular will be very tricky for Shock T if she is not careful. T will have to avoid the paper bombs, and I believe she will do that just fine. And she can contain potential threatening blasts with the Force if necessary. She can also alter the environment to aid her if needed, maneuvering herself in this new environment accordingly. I believe this fight ultimately concludes before round 2 with Shock T as the winner. She may have some cuts and bruises though, but her force strength, agility, and her willpower greatly aid her in this fight against the unfortunately outclassed Conan. Shock T will move on to round 2 with Conan perishing. Next fight, we have Deidara versus Anakin, the 2 edgelords of their own teams. This fight will conclude before round 2. Unfortunately for Deidara, Anakin has shown how easy it is for him to battle foes flying around and being above him. He doesn't really care about that. He has ways to even the odds in those situations. Given his propensity for force choke as well, I believe Anakin would force Deidara into C0. Then Anakin would launch Deidara miles into the air as he harmlessly explodes. As we've seen Anakin thrown Dirge and his ship into the sun before, this should be absolutely 0 problems for the very ferocious Anakin Skywalker. With that being said, Deidara unfortunately has a bad matchup here. Both have similar personalities as far as they are artistic fighters. Like Anakin's one of the more fluid, show-off fighters in his verse and his era, as is Deidara for his side, but unfortunately for Deidara, Anakin has ways to counter what he brings to the table, neutralizes him, and ultimately Anakin moves on to round 2 just fine with Deidara dying. Next up, Orochimaru vs. Ki-Adi-Mundi, the big brain boy. This fight will conclude before round 2. In this particular fight, I actually heavily favor Orochimaru's versatility and fight IQ in this battle. Orochimaru can erect the Rashomon to stop the charging Jedi, sneak around with hella snakes, and ensnare Mundi and snap his neck before Mundi can really establish himself in this fight. For those that don't know, if you're particularly a Star Wars fan, you don't follow Naruto, or you just like skimmed through my Akatsuki video, Orochimaru can basically summon a massive wall that will prevent Mundi from striking him down. Then he'll be able to get around and launch several snakes at Mundi. He can ensnare him, snap his neck. He can stab him, hit him multiple times. He can disarm him pretty easily. Even use Manda if he had to, but I don't even think he has to. I think he's tricky enough to take out Mundi here, who I don't trust as much as the others in terms of fighting prowess. And with that being said, I believe Orochimaru moves on to the next round just fine. Next fight up on the board, we have Sasori vs. Plo Koon. I do not see this fight ending before round 2. Plo Koon's willingness to kill and his offensive mindset will be more than enough to press Sasori. You gotta remember, Koon can do stuff like Force Crush, he can use Electric Judgment with his Force Lightning, and he's considered the most militaristic of his order. So, that is a big deal when coming against Sasori, who is basically a one-man army. On the other hand, besides Koon's obvious ability and his forte as a fighter, Sasori has 100 puppets to push back Koon and keep him away from the real body for an extended period of time. Because of Sasori's numbers and his ability to prolong the fight and have Koon basically fight his minions, this fight will not conclude before round 2. Moving on to the next battle, we have Kisame vs. Kit Fisto. This fight will end before round 2 begins. Kit Fisto is about as hard of a counter to Kisame as it can get. His force abilities and combative skills already rival Kisame when both are on land. That's a given. He's either faster than Kisame or relative, and more than capable of keeping up with Kisame. However, when water is brought into the fold, it makes it very bad for Kisame. Water actually seems to multiply the power of Kit Fisto and put him on a whole nother level in AP and speed, and he even has unique abilities underwater like a massive energy ball. This is important because Kisame favors water style, often uses it in character, and when Kisame puts them in his huge water bubble or uses one of his water jutsus, Kit will simply dominate in this water scenario and pulverize Kisame, blitz him and kill him before he really knows what goes on. I think it would actually be worse than Mike Kai versus Kisame in terms of Kisame just being truly overwhelmed. As a result of his hard counter nature to what Kisame brings to the table, Kit Fisto will be moving on. Itachi vs. Kenobi is our next fight. This fight will not conclude before round 2. Both of these fighters make this fight interesting because they're very skilled, as well as they're some of the most favored and beloved characters of their verse. I do not see Itachi being effective with his genjutsu against Obi-Wan Kenobi. At worst, Kenobi gets a slight headache by the attempted mind control and mind tricks of Itachi. Kenobi simply has too many feats of resisting mind hacks and resisting these sort of scenarios and doing very well against it, if not outright negging it. So I don't think Tsukiyomi or anything's really going to work on Kenobi. What keeps Itachi in this fight is Amaterasu, Totsuka Blade, and the Yata Mirror, as well as his Susanoo. All of these tools combined will keep Kenobi at bay and drag out this fight. I simply don't see Kenobi closing in immediately when Itachi has all these tools at his disposal. By the way, I'm giving Itachi the benefit of the doubt with chakra. I'm not making him near his death. Oh my god, he can only perform a few things before he's worn out. He has, some stamina here. Not on his deathbed, because I think that's boring and I want to make this fight interesting and entertaining. Because of that, he's not going to run out of gas immediately. And with his weapons, he can keep Kenobi at bay, who's a defensive fighter anyway, and prolong this fight, and as a result, it will not conclude before round 2. Next up, Pain vs. Mace Windu. This would be an awesome battle to witness. Pain will have his pass of pain because I actually believe the numbers, the bodies, will actually help his cause in a fight. I believe if he was in one singular location in Nagato, that would actually be a lot harder for him to win, despite him being a little stronger as Nagato than Pain itself. But I believe with his bodies and manipulating them, he has a better chance because he has numbers. Any Pain that gets close to Mace Windu dies. I'm just going to be honest. Mace is simply too fast. He was so fast going against the Emperor that when Anakin stumbled into it in the novelization, he thought they were fading in and out of existence and couldn't even follow them. Like, Mace Windu is super fast, and he's going to be able to blitz any Pain that gets near him. They can annoy him. They can press him, but they can't actually harm Windu, in my opinion. He can even force crush them if he wants to. The different attacks and attack styles that Pain has to offer will force Windu to move around and even possibly be slightly defensive. As a result, I believe Pain has the power and versatility to cause this battle to drag on and to not conclude before round 2. Next matchup and final matchup of round 1, Toby versus Yoda. This is a fight that will drag on. Toby can go intangible for 5 minutes straight. Yoda's the faster fighter here. It becomes a game of cat and mouse. This simply will not conclude before round 2. Finally, we are moving on to round 2. First fight to go over. Agent Kolar and Saisi 10 vs Kakuzu. The addition of Agent Kolar to this fight makes things more conclusive. Kakuzu won't have the ability to hold off the 2 blitzing Jedi as they get rid of his final hearts. Kakuzu dies and the 2 Jedi, Kolar and 10, move on. Next fight, Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi vs Itachi. After initial hesitation with this fight, going over the different scenarios of how it would probably play out, this fight will actually end quicker than I originally thought. Anakin's firepower can rip Itachi out of the Susanoo. When I say firepower, of course, I mean his massively powerful force pulls, pushes, telekinesis. Itachi can't leave this battle, like he doesn't have the choice to retreat and just call it a day. So he's forced to keep distance and try to snipe them with his Amaterasu. Eventually, he either gasses out or gets beheaded by Anakin. Regardless, Itachi dies and the 2 Jedi move on. Next fight, Orochimaru and Sasori vs Plo Koon and Kit Fisto. This fight will not conclude before round 3. Orochimaru jumps in to press Koon first, so Koon actually has to run the 2v1 for a little bit. And he might actually even hurt him in this scenario, as it adds an already complicated situation for Plo Koon, given he's fighting literally 100 puppets. However, Kit Fisto soon enters the fray to aid his ally. Sasori's puppets and Orochimaru's weird arsenal and Manda can hold off the 2 Jedi as they attempt to close in. All fighters remain in this battle until round 3, so Orochimaru, Sasori, Koon, and Fisto are not down. Next up, Shaak Ti and Mace Windu vs Pain. This fight will not conclude before round 3. Pain will use summonings and missiles to hold off the 2 masters. Still, he's gonna have an issue dealing with their speed. He sucks in T, but Windu force crushes Tendo like he did Grievous. T survives the attempted murder, and the battle wages on. Ultimately, Pain has enough, and at this point he's going to be really throwing what he can at the 2 Jedi to keep them off before round 3 begins. Thus, all 3 combatants in this scenario move on to round 3. Last battle of round 2, Yoda versus Toby. This battle will not conclude before round 3. Again, Toby is intangible and will evade being touched by Yoda's deadly blade. The other 2 rounds were actually, in my opinion, only a few minutes total at that, given the speed of their fighters. We have to remember these are light speed characters relative to light speed, even MFTL based on your scaling. Regardless, it's extremely fast combat, way faster than a real life fight, and as a result, these are very brief battles from the views of people like us who are massively slower. So, we have not yet gotten close to the 5-minute mark of when intangibility ends, and as a result, Toby is still unhittable. Round 3. Kolar, Saisi 10, Plo Koon, and Kit Fisto versus Orochimaru and Sasori. This fight will conclude somewhat quickly. Numbers pile up, and the two Akatsuki meet their bloody end. However, Saisi 10 dies from being poisoned by either iron sand or Orochimaru's blood. Y'all can decide which was the fate of this Jedi, but regardless, he is gone. Kolar, Koon, and Fisto move on. T. Windu, Kenobi, Skywalker versus Pain. This fight ends in seconds. The addition of a relatively healthy Skywalker and Kenobi is simply too much for Pain. They decimate the past completely, find Nagato's real body via Force Sense, and end it. By the way, if you don't think they're capable of doing this, they can see through illusions and make connections to the point where Obi-Wan was able to break like a galaxy-spanning shroud in the novels by Sidious confusing everyone, hiding stuff. Nagato's not going to be able to hide himself from these people once they get through the bodies. Shock T, however, dies when she contains an almighty push to save her allies. The strain from already being tired from multiple fights and containing this massive attack will kill Shock T, who has a habit of dying a lot in Star Wars anyway, so I'm not very sad nor surprised. The other Jedi, however, move on as Pain meets his end. Yoda vs. Toby. This fight finally ends. Toby simply can't tag Yoda. Eventually, he has to try. When he does, Yoda will behead him. Even if he uses Izanami, Toby will still get sliced and diced when he finally materializes. He won't be able to cheat death for that long. Eventually, Yoda's gonna hit him, and eventually, Yoda wins. So, who dies on each side? As Akatsuki, everyone. They lose. They're gone. For the Jedi, they lost Shock T, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Saisi 10. I'm going to do something different for my battles than I usually do, and I'm going to award MVPs for each team just because I think it's fun with this Complete War style. For the Jedi, it's Anakin Skywalker. His speed and ferociousness was critical when he aided other fighters, and a few key W's for his team. So because of how strong he was as a support character and how many W's he secured as a result of it, he wins MVP for the Jedi. MVP for the Akatsuki is Orochimaru. He actually helped Sasori out, and he helped Sasori hold off multiple Jedi, as the Snake Ninja himself actually has some of his best moments for his team with his confusing and versatile arsenal. Still, it isn't enough as the Jedi Council walk away as the victors, but Orochimaru actually did catch a body, potentially two depending on how you decided the fate of 10. Regardless, Orochimaru was MVP for the Akatsuki, which I'm sure shocked a lot of you. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. If you want to see the Jedi Council take on the Hokage next, or the Uchiha clan next, let me know. We can definitely start working on that. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sasuke vs. Luke is coming soon. I have to drop the Sasuke video, then the Luke vs. Sasuke battle will happen. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's your favorite villain. Make sure to subscribe and tell your friends to subscribe. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.